So I would like to introduce the next speaker, Mr. SRV Subramaniam, who would be covering non-functional testing in Agile, which is going to be an exercise followed by a presentation. Over to you.
Yeah. Hope I'm audible to all of you. No. Hi, is it better now? Yeah. Is it better now? Okay, I think if you can just yeah, or else I'll walk in. Okay. 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 So the why I'm here is to share my experience on non-functional testing in Agile. Okay. So basically, so it's going to be a reflective session. Okay. One, there's going to be a short exercise involving all of you. Okay. So and then after that we'll have we'll share the learnings from your team exercises, juxtapose it with whatever is my experience coming up from my own experience in the projects, and then we'll see, and then we'll take out the key learnings of what are the things we need to look up when we are doing non-functional testing in an Agile setup. Okay. So fresh after lunch we'll get into some action. Okay, I don't have any videos, but due to the time constraint, but idea is we'll build the additional features to the main battle tank called Arjun. Okay, Arjun is, want to keep it as close as possible to Arjun, our Indian one. So basically it's one of the key components in any infantry setup, and and it fits into the direct combat operations in any modern warfare. So what we are going to do now is, for the next 30 minutes, we are going to subdivide ourselves into teams of 8 to 10 people each, right? How many of you are very familiar with Agile? You are not raising your hand? Please. I think after lunch, okay. Oh God, I would have wished more hands would go up. But anyway, idea is 8 to 10 people get into a group, and then we'll have we'll play a game wherein we build additional features to our main battle tank, which is already in shape. Okay, typically what the three features we would like to work today is, one is it needs to travel in shallow water. That means it can already travel in sand and mud. It needs to travel in shallow water. You are going to upgrade the main firing gun and then improve the weapon delivery control system. Okay, but for the purpose of this game and this exercise and this session, you don't have to bother too much. Okay, point is just take it into a cursory look, but there is something more coming up. Okay. They are also planning to introduce a ceramic vehicle armor. Vehicle armor is what is covering the tank. Okay, so what the impact is, beforehand we looked at, okay, it might impact the tank in terms of durability, that is how many kilometers it can move on without getting damaged, its ability to move in multiple terrains, and then withstanding the impact of firing. Okay, but good thing is our production setup, okay, or rather the engineering setup, has the facility to simulate these conditions, okay, and we can do lot of tests covering this for these multiple set of conditions in a lab setup. Okay, that is what is indicated in the last slide. Make sense? Are you with me? Are you with me? So 3 features, yeah, rather 4 features, and we suspect that the 4th feature might have some, right?
He has come back on top and he wants to attend the other.
Okay, first 10 minutes is for backlog creation. Okay, backlog creation, again, I am sure many of you will be familiar with the format of user stories, format of features. Okay, as a user I want to do this. Okay, if you are able to come up with that, fine. Okay, But the key point is I just want you to come up with, you just need to relate yourself when you come up with the backlog to the theme of this session. Theme of this session is non-functional requirements. So when you come up with features or user stories, just come up with one functional story and one, right? Or if there is a better way to put them, please do that. And that's where I want your imagination to go well within the agile scheme of things, right? Then we'll run one iteration. I have some Lego sets here, but again Lego is purely incidental. I want you to really mimic what happens when you go through an iteration, okay, when you are handling a set of requirements, okay. And then I want you to relate to the main screen so when you build, you need to keep this in mind. So we will have a retrospective for 10 minutes, right, and then next 30 minutes is for discussions where I share my perspective, and we can also juxtapose it with whatever is the learnings coming from the team here, right. Can we please assemble into teams of 8 to 10 people each? I know there is some chair rearranging, minor chair and rearranging required, but I guess we are all agile people, self-organizing, self-managed, right?
So one needn't request.
Yeah, they are to validate you on the specifics of the tank dynamics, okay. We will be as gentle as possible, okay. Idea is to really provoke the thinking and trying to get the key aspects right. Yeah, my friend Mahesh will also be there to co-facilitate in case there is any need. So. So in this backlog creation, it's twofold. One is you're going to just a minute. You're just going to get into what it takes to elicit the requirements in a typical agile development setup where we are having complexity, one on the domain front, one on the technology front, and then second thing is backlog creation. I just want you to think so that we know what are the things we need to attend to in such a situation, and then one of you can act as a product owner. I am going back to our feature slide.
Timer on 8 minutes. 2:17. Time. 10 minutes. ஆமா. சார் டைமரே இல்லை. இல்லை போட்டுங்களேன் 8 minutes போட்டுங்களேன். We'll do it during the retrospective. For the game, I'll provide the. Okay. There is 4. We need to share it among 5, but we'll ask those 2 teams to share.
Features and what are the implied risks which are coming out of this particular. Yeah. So I would request each of you have got Lego sets, okay. So you can try to build something, not really this thing. Can you share between both with the other team? Team, can you share it with them? Execution.
10 minutes.
Yeah. Team, you have 10 minutes for this, and you need to do planning and execution in this.
Straight execution rate. Papa, every execution money.
Details are not provided. What is the performance required? Not provided. Or we say prolonged monitoring. Prolonged monitoring for what? And then it also says a combination of these conditions might be simulated, right? It again doesn't say what combination, how much. So what we are trying to say is that in real life, most of our NFRs are going to be in a vaguish scenario. So we need to be very clear that while our functional requirements are likely to be fairly clear to start with, NFRs are likely to be fairly vaguish, and we need to spend time trying to elicit. I think that's a key learning I wanted out of this exercise, and I think we all got it right. Yeah. Okay, now to the other one. Was it straightforward? No. So typically these requirements emerge, okay. They don't come out straight away, they emerge out of rounds of discussions. So that we need to be prepared. So if we are getting into any complex application, be prepared to allocate the time required for NFR formulation. That's the idea I wanted to convey. Okay, now to the more complicated part. Okay, so here when I look at the answers, okay, there is some divergence. So so first is you had iteration 1. So how did you incorporate? Did you incorporate NFRs into your iteration 1? Yes. How did you do it? Backlog, you had a separate story? Okay. NFRs can be a separate story, or NFRs can be acceptance criteria in a functional story. But again, only the minor NFR conditions can go as a acceptance criteria. If it is major, put it as a separate one. Why? Because we want separate engineering effort to be devoted for that. Okay, NFR is not a consequence of any unplanned activity. NFR has to be planned for. If you want your response time in your website to come within 10 milliseconds, you need to really engineer for it, right? It can't happen as part of routine coding.
That's why there are something called as system verification testing, right?
Yeah, I'm just coming to that. Yeah, I'm just coming to that. Okay, this is on incorporation. Next comes the more trickier part, and rather the core of my presentation. Verification of the NFR story. Assume you've taken it. How will you verify within the within the iteration? So you have to test and assume, okay, was the product owner, just think of this aspect, was verification within the iteration smooth for an NFR? No. Why no?
Because the real environment is not available.
Yeah, exactly. Any other points for a no, or anybody thinks it's yes? Please.
So it's a certain level of testing that can be done. Essentially, it's part. So if you look at system and you get features, right? So there are certain things you can do at the feature level, right? Which can go into the same, and can be part of the acceptance criteria. And then there is the interdependencies of features.
Yeah.
Which then goes and cannot go in the same place.
Same, yeah.
Everybody is kind of doing
Type, yeah. Yeah, exactly. This is what I wanted to bring up. Okay. Take a setup where you have to verify you are working in a medical scanning application. Okay. So your NFR is supposed to say, okay, what is the rate at which if I do 10 different types of bodies into the scanning machine and I get an output, everything must come within X number of minutes or seconds. Okay. In reality, our iterations are 2 or 3 weeks long, 4 weeks long at a max. Can you really develop and test it within a iteration? Answer is most likely a no, because as we also saw in our first slide, test environments are likely to be pretty complex and verification cycles are going to be complex. If you want to really get into a Flipkart kind of situation, you want to plan for that big billion day, how many servers are required? You need to really get into the memory mapping, right? Memory mapping over different combinations of loads, okay? And you cannot do it in a iteration situation where your build is changing every day, minimum, right? Or it can change with every merge, okay? We really cannot force our specialized testers into, you need to verify something in this build within 1 day or something like that. It requires a lot of intellectual effort, it requires a lot of analysis. So NFR testing is a pretty specialist exercise. So my recommendation is you can do something in an iteration but verify it in the next iteration in parallel, so that the verification is not getting into the dynamics of iteration. It's too fast for any specialized activity. Okay, this is the idea I wanted you guys to think about. Okay, so why is NFRs deserving special attention? Why? Because test environment is specialized and we need expert services. A normal tester cannot do vulnerability testing, right? If yours is a medical application, you want to get HIPAA compliance, you need a specialized testing service. He may not be needed during the entire duration of the project, he may need where that particular functionality or feature is getting developed and verified. And third is, you might require to monitor over long durations. So which means sometimes weeks, sometimes months, okay, on a specialized set of load conditions or any other operating conditions. So you really cannot force it within an iteration. And then hard to reproduce defects. And then it might also uncover design flaws, which means that you need to test NFR early. That's why the question, did you include NFR in your first iteration? Again, as he pointed out, you may not get into a perfect setup enough iteration 1. But idea is you do whatever is possible so that you are progressively eliminating the likelihood of finding a critical architectural defect later in the project. So idea is perfection might come at the end when you do the release level testing, but till such time whatever is possible using simulators or with whatever means you should try to do the extent possible so that you are eliminating the possibility of finding a critical defect later on. And then yes, environments are complex. Okay, this is my recommendation. Yes, we have already discussed it. NFRs can be incorporated as individual stories and minor ones can be included as acceptance criteria. On the verification side, test early right from first iteration, and then consider having parallel NFR test iterations to the development. Parallel means in iteration 2 you will have a parallel, you will have a development iteration, in parallel you have a NFR iteration. The defects from the NFR iteration will go into your product backlog, right? And then full view, this does not compensate the full product testing which you will do at a release level. That is mandatory if you are doing any standards, safety critical applications require standard compliance, that has to be done only on a full blown application where there is code freeze implemented. Right, all of you with me? Okay, so that is a case in point. So this was an application where I worked in my previous organization. So here it was a complex call center application involving radio, analog radio, digital radio, VoIP technologies, and then that had to really comply with lot of security controls, because you know your reliability should be absolutely on the dot. You cannot have any failed calls. So for that what we did was we found that when we did release level NFR, you found critical defects right at the end and which might require architecture fixes. That was really jeopardizing the schedule. So then we came up with this parallel NFR environments, and the defects were going to the product backlog, and then as I indicated you will have a release level testing. Okay. How many of you are aware of Crispin's quadrants? Okay, 2. If you are in agile testing area, I would request all of you to be familiarize with this particular concept. In the sense it really distills the flavor of agile testing. So I want to relate this to the discussion we had, that's why I am having this here, okay. And it's also an opportunity to introduce Crispin's quadrants to the forum. So what you see on the bottom left is the unit tests, which are typically automated, done by the developer. Top left is the functional test done by the iteration tester, right. So basically these are not pretty complex, but these are the ones which are typically prone for automation. On the right is the more complex ones. As you see on the right side, you see critique product, very specialized testing services. The top is the exploratory testing, UAT testing, or complex end-to-end scenarios. On the bottom is your non-functional requirements. So as you see very clearly, left hand side is the easier ones, right hand side is the complex ones. Agree, right? Right? So in England there is a term called horses for the courses. How many of you have heard of it? So in Derby you have, Derby racing is famous, right? So depending on the track they will choose the horse, right? The same way, depending on what quadrant testing you are doing, you will choose your approach, okay. You will not transfer a tester from one quadrant to another quadrant, because the skills and mindset are diametrically different. Okay, now let us juxtapose this to our discussion. Okay, right? The left hand side is easier ones, we will try to do within an iteration. The right hand side is the complex ones, we will try to do parallel to iterations. So again, I can have a separate presentation on what is the manpower and operational conditions which is there for both of it, but I can summarize in a view. Right hand side is really specialist services, okay. So you don't put them in an iteration team, okay. They are supposed to be specialists, so they need to be groomed and treated as a specialist. So left hand side are testers who have good team working skills and morely generic testers. Make sense? Right?
But don't you think we have iterations defined for both feature functional testing and non-functional testing?
See, you don't have iterations defined for functional testing, that is to be done within the development iteration itself.
So when you are saying about iterations, it is for non-functional testing or?
No, I'm putting them in the both the same bucket. Both will be equally timed, except that the non-functional testing iterations will have a lag. So iteration 2 will take the output of iteration 1 and then test it, because they don't want to get into sprint dynamics. So right side is more specialist, left side is likely to be more generalist. So the left side is more that guy needs to be good on white box testing, good in teamwork, and then he needs to work collaboratively with developers, whereas the right hand side needs to be extremely independent and are supposed to be specialists in the industry, right? Because these are the guys who are going to internally check whether I am complying with standards, right? So you need to really groom the folks on the right hand side, because they are likely to be hard to get and hard to retain. Okay, now where are we have had certain discussions, right? Where is it likely to be most applicable? Okay, look out for situations where there is high domain centricity. I am a share trading application. My software is going to run on trains, it is going to control trains. My software is going to control ultra mega power projects, thermal power projects, or my software is going to coordinate with 5,000 cameras in Mumbai airport. Look out for situations where there is intense hardware, domain complexity, domain centricity, which means that you need to comply with a lot of standards and regulations. And lastly, safety criticality and this thing. So these are the ones. When you find a situation like this, then most likely you might have to follow an approach like this. If it is a pure non-safety critical or when there is no monetary value, It's not a financial application, it's a plain web application. You can just go have it straight with our load runner kind of stuff, where the complexity is much lesser. But if you are working in a something where this fits in, please be vigilant. And this is not something which is unexpected in agile setup. Why? Because if you look at Stacy's graph, how many of you have seen the Stacy's graph? Okay, in an agile forum I would have expected more hands to go up, because as with Crispin's quadrants are the heart of agile testing, Stacy's graph is the heart of agile as a concept. Okay, so again, to introduce you to the team, first thing is, so you have technology on one side, requirements on the other side. Where agile is supposed to work is where in the blue shaded region, which is the complex applications. If your technology is straightforward, requirements are straightforward, don't use agile, use waterfall, because there is no need to inspect and adapt. Assume you are doing a time sheet application for your company. Is there any technical complexity? There are thousands of applications to ready-madely refer to. So don't use agile there, use waterfall. Do agile where there is a technical complexity and a domain complexity, and that is where you need to do inspect and adapt. Make sense? So what you see on the left is really applicable to what you see on the right, because if you are doing agile, that means you are doing because there is a inherent complexity which you observe, right? Make sense? Okay, I am done. So I think last 15 minutes were like Shatabdi, but I guess any questions?
Any hands going up? No questions?
Okay. Yeah, this is my I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter, so I would like to be in touch and also get feedback on how the session went. Yeah.
I mean, it's my perception, but it may not be correct. Does NASA uses agile approach?
See, US Department of Defense, okay, I don't know about NASA, but US Department of Defense is now moving towards agile.
No, but agile was evolved from last 10 years, 20 years. Because I have read somewhere, it said that most mission critical assignments is, good to follow the agile model. But I read somewhere that NASA doesn't.
See, they might not follow, but the point is, if they don't follow agile, what happens is, they will do the entire non-functional requirement testing at the end of the release. Okay. Then if they find a critical defect, if they find an architectural issue, the release will get pushed later and later. So that's the risk they are getting into.
Even in the most of the mission critical assignments, there is a lot of R&D kind of activities happening.
Yeah.
And there, if you put a kind of a time box, you might not get a end result.
No, but no, we really in agile world we really understand that R&D needs to be done. So we don't pick up a story unless it's very clear. And for R&D activities, we typically schedule spike stories. So even in a complex application, you don't get into developing user story unless you are really clear about it. Yeah, I think you had a question.
Is it through?
Yeah.
All right then, moving on. We'll be breaking for tea, but just before that, I would like to call both Mr. Subramaniam as well as Mr. Krishna Kumar to felicitate him. Kindly come on stage, both of you. And let's have a huge round of applause for Mr. Subramaniam.
Thanks.